Hello, everybody. I'm Rodolfo Magalhães. I'm an associate researcher at Instituto Tamanduá and a PhD student at University College London. I've been working with the Brazilian three-banded armadillo now for 7 years, and I'm here today to talk to you about the ecology and participatory conservation of this amazing species that I love so much. Uh, I would like to start talking about the species itself, the banded armadillo, uh, and then talk about the project that we're been conducting since 2017. So let's start. Let's see. So the Brazilian three-banded armadillo is a member of the superorder Xanathra, together with the sloths and the anteaters. And as other armadillos, it has the dorsal portion of its body covered by a carapace, and this carapace can be divided into different parts. Uh, Starting from the head, we have the cephalic shield, then the scapular shield, then the banded shield, the pelvic shield, and the caudal shield. The banded shield in three-banded armadillos is composed of three movable bands, and this is a character that can differentiate three-banded armadillos from other armadillos. But the most remarkable feature of three-banded armadillos is that they can roll up their bodies into a perfect ball. And when they do that, they touch the cephalic shield and the caudal shield. And this is how it happens. So we have two species of three-banded armadillos. One of them is the Tolipux matacus, the southern three-banded armadillo that occurs in Brazil, the Pantanal region, but also in Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina. And we also have the Brazilian three-banded armadillo, which is a species that is endemic to Brazil and occurs mainly in the northeast portion of the country, in the Caatinga dry forests and the savanna, the Cerrado savannas of Brazil. So currently, we have basically three challenges for the conservation of these species, and especially for the conservation of the Brazilian three-banded armadillo. The first challenge is the limited knowledge we have of these species. For example, only in 2016, it was discovered that these species could dig their own burrows. So despite being armadillos, it was believed that three-banded armadillos would not be able to excavate their own burrows. And only in 2016, it was discovered and published. And this is a really good footage from this paper that shows a southern three-banded armadillo excavating its burrow. The second challenge for the conservation of these species is the anthropogenic threats that are under. The first one, the historical one, is hunting, because you can imagine these species roll up their bodies into a ball and stay immobile. So it's really easy to capture these individuals, which makes really easy to hunt them. The second major threat to the Brazilian three-banded armadillo is habitat loss. And this is especially important, especially relevant in the Cerrado savannas that are experiencing a rapid, a really fast expansion of industrial agriculture. So these threats led the Brazilian three-banded armadillo to be classified as an endangered species according to the IUCN criteria by the Ministry of Environment of Brazil in 2015. And the third challenge is the insufficient conservation attention that these species have. Only in 2014, we had the National Action Plan for the Conservation of these Species. And this National Action Plan We had lots of activities, and one of these actions is to provide a better understanding of the real situation of populations of these species. And in one of the projects of the National Action Plan was a paper that we published last year, in which we mapped priority areas for the conservation of this rebanded armadillo. And as we can see here, this map shows the density of patches of savanna-like vegetation throughout the distribution of the Brazilian rebanded armadillo. And we can see that there are some areas with high density of these patches of vegetation. And some of them are close to protected areas. And these areas, if protected, could form a large biodiversity corridor that could benefit both the rebanded armadillo and other species as well. However, we also showed that only 24% of the recent records of the rebanded armadillo are located within protected areas, which means that 76% of the recent records are outside protected areas in unprotected landscapes. Other products, other outputs of the National Action Plan include some guidelines for collecting biological samples, for example, that were produced by the team and are available for anyone that wants to work with the species. So based on this background about the species, its conservation status, in 2017, I started monitoring a threatened species for wind farms in Northeast Brazil. So this is the beginning of my story with the Brazilian rebanded armadillo. I was a environmental consultant, and I was responsible for this monitoring of threatened species. And among the species that were the focus of this monitoring, it was, for example, this rebanded armadillo, but I also included the jaguar, puma, ocelot, so lots of felids. And one of the objectives was to understand the distribution of these species in the area. So here we have a map of the area where you can see these white triangles that represent the wind farm turbines. So we can see that they are in the limits of a biodiversity priority area, which is this gray polygon. This area is located in Northeast Brazil in the Caatinga forests. And here we have this star that represents the Sumidouro community. And this community is the focus of our project since 2017. As I mentioned, the first objective of this monitoring of threatened species was to have an idea of the population size of these threatened species and also their distribution. And we used camera traps and active searches to sample for these species during the monitoring. And the first really good result that we had in 2017 was the first record of predation of the rebanded armadillo by a native predator, which was the jaguar. It was a really interesting record because we only put the cameras in this place because one of the field assistants from Sumidouro, João, told us to put the camera there because the jaguar would use that trail. And the jaguar used that trail, but with rebanded armadillo in its mouth. So this record was included with another record that was made by Liana and Flávio at Serra da Capivara National Park in the paper that we published in 2021, in which we discussed the ecological implications of this interaction. Another objective of the monitoring program in 2017 was to assess the morphometry of the rebanded armadillos in the area to have an idea if, for example, their weights changed between the dry and the rainy season, and whether there was some sexual dimorphism between males and females. Then it was necessary to have an idea of the individuals, right? However, we didn't have access to artificial marking methods at that stage. So we had to rely on natural marks, but natural marks were not available for this species in a conclusive way. So there were some suggestions that the cephalic shields could be used as a natural mark. So we started identifying individuals using the cephalic shields, and it was really fast that we came to the conclusion that it was really reliable. As you can see here, we have two different individuals. The first individual has a cephalic formula in which the pattern of scutes is 1, 3, 2, 2. The second individual has a pattern of 1, 2, 2, 1. Even when the cephalic formula is the same, we can see the difference. We can spot the difference here. So here we have the same pattern for two different individuals, and we can see clearly that the pattern is different between these two individuals. And when we have a recapture of the same individual, we can also spot that there's no difference. So these are two photographs taken in different recaptures with maybe 2-3 months between those. So we can see that it's the same pattern. But there was also the suggestion in the literature that the species could be differentiated as well. So the southern three-banded armadillo would have a pattern 1-1, and the Brazilian three-banded armadillo a pattern 1-2. However, these differences between individuals and between species had not been assessed quantitatively. So we did that, we assessed that, and concluded that, yes, this is a species diagnostic character and also a natural mark for three-banded armadillos. And we showed that those results in a study that we published in 2022. And as results, some results of the morphometry assessment were that the males had longer cephalic shields than females, and they were heavier than females as well. So as part of the monitoring, we also conducted a pilot study, a pilot ethnobiology study, to evaluate the relationships between the population of Sumidouro and the three-banded armadillo, and also assess what kind of areas these people would like to conserve. So based on all of those objectives, we restructured the monitoring and made it a research project, which was my master's project. So we could explore all of these assessments in detail in a scientific way with scientific rigor. But we continued with the same objective, right? So the first one was to understand the habitat use. So we sampled basically two types of habitats, the Caatinga dry forest and the anthropogenic habitat, which was some habitats that were used as croplands in the past, but they are now in regeneration. And we used the same methods, camera traps and active searches. We established 24 sampling stations in which we installed camera traps, one camera trap per station, and conducted active searches in each of these stations. And we had some really cute videos of the three-banded armadillos, like this one. But we also had some videos of other threatened species, like the giant anteater. And this is one of the few records of this species in the Caatinga. And also the northern tiger cat. And other threatened species as well. So the records of Chenartrons that we obtained until 2019 are available in the Neotropical Chenartrons dataset. And the records of carnivores that we obtained until 2019 are available in the Neotropical Carnivores dataset as well. So as a result of this assessment of habitat use, we concluded that the three-banded armadillo would be potentially in that whole area. So the species seem to be really widespread throughout the area, which is really interesting because it's a threatened species. But we also found that active searches were more effective in detecting the species than camera trapping. And this was certainly because of the ability of the residents of the Extremadura community to search for these species and find the tracks and excavations. So they were responsible for the conduction of active searches. So it's because of them that we could detect the species and work with the species since the beginning, since the record of the jaguar preying upon the prevented armadillo. And all of these results as well, they are present in the paper that we published last year. When we conducted the ethnobiology assessment, we found that according to the perception of residents of Sumidouro, the habitat preference of the prevented armadillo was basically none. It could occur everywhere without any strong habitat association, and it was corroborated by the habitat use assessment. Its activity patterns were mostly crepuscular, nocturnal, and its main predator would be the jaguar. It was again corroborated by the record that we obtained. But when we asked about relative population size, the second most abundant species according to the residents was the serrated armadillo, and this was again really surprising. When we asked about popularity, how disliked or liked the mammal species were according to the perceptions of residents, the prevented armadillo was considered the second most popular species. And again, surprisingly, when we asked about the most hunted species, the prevented armadillo was not even cited when we asked about that. And again, all of these results are shown in a paper that we published this year. And we used information on habitat use and ethnobiology assessments to understand which areas should be prioritized for conservation in the region. So according to the perception of the residents, forested areas and areas with water springs and water streams should be preserved, basically because of wood and water provision. And as the prevented armadillo can be found everywhere in the area, and we have a biodiversity priority area where we can find forest vegetation and water springs and water streams, this would be the area to be really the focus of conservation action there. It's feasible to conserve that according to the perceptions of the residents, and we can find the prevented armadillo there, and it's already biodiversity priority area. But as scientists, we would like to check whether the prevented armadillo would be indeed a potential local flagship species to conserve and to choose as the ambassador for conservation in the area. So we developed a prioritization scheme to prioritize mammals for conservation and used conservation status, hunting pressure, and cultural importance to define the need for conservation attention towards specific species. The hunting pressure and cultural importance were obtained through the ethnobiology assessments. And the cultural importance is basically how important the species is for shaping the culture of that group of people, which is referred to in literature as the cultural keystone species. And we also measured the conservation feasibility of these species based on the popularity. So, for example, a really disliked species like the jaguar would have to have some human wildlife coexistence measures first, and then move to the recovery of the population, because it could raise some conflicts with the community if it didn't do that first. So based on need for conservation attention and conservation feasibility, we could define the potential as local flagship species. So again, this prioritization scheme and all the results from this analysis is present in a scientific paper that we published in 2022. So we found that the jaguar and the prevented armadillo were the species with the highest need for conservation attention. As I said, the brocket deer and the turbine armadillo were the species with the highest conservation feasibility due to their high popularity. And based on that, the turbine armadillo would be the species with the highest potential to be used as a flagship species in the area because it has a high need for conservation attention and is highly popular. So basically, we could, based on all of this work, we could identify opportunities for research and conservation in the area. And these opportunities could be summarized as the support from local stakeholders, both the residents of local communities and the wind farms, and the fact that the species is common in the area and people know a lot about the species and could help us to work with the species there. So based on that, we created a new project called Ecology and Participatory Conservation of the Turbine Armadillo in Northeast Brazil, or just ECP Tatu-bola in Portuguese. That was conceived during the Edge of Existence program, the Edge of Existence Fellowship. This program is run by the Zoological Society of London and started in 2021. And the project started being run also by the Federal University of Minas Gerais, and now it is run by Instituto Tamanduá in partnership with the Federal University of Minas Gerais. The first objective of this project was to build a local action plan with the participation of people from local communities. So we held a workshop in 2022 with more than 40 people attending. And our objective was to map, to define the threats, the local threats to the turbine armadillo, and the solutions for these threats according to the perception of people from local communities. So we did that, and based on this plan, we could define the actions and everything that we've been doing since then. So another objective was to build local capacity. So far, we have delivered 6 courses, for example, in camera trap deployment and operation, in environmental education and others. And more than 50 residents have been trained so far. We've been also conducting activities to raise awareness, environmental awareness in local communities. So we've conducted 3 activities in local communities, and more than 30 children participate in these activities. Here, I want to share some results from our monitoring, because as we do evidence-based conservation, we have to monitor our activities and follow what is happening. So this graph shows the cultural consensus about the species that were liked, popular among children before the intervention and after the intervention. So we can see here that before and after the intervention, we have a higher richness of species that are liked by children. So it means that the children in the short term, right after the activity, they knew a higher number of species that occurred in the area, and they started liking a higher number of species that were mentioned as liked species in their opinion. And some of these species include some threatened species, and one of them is the chenopharon, the giant anteater, that was not mentioned before. So we've been conducting some citizen science as well. So residents of local communities and employees and service providers of the wind farms, they send pictures of turbine armadillos that they found on roads, for example, or in the field. And these pictures, we instructed them to take these pictures in a way that we can see the patterns of the cephalic shields to identify the individuals, and also the date, the hour, and the geographic coordinates. So for example, these pictures here show employees, service providers of the wind farms that were working with animals that found some individuals individuals of Tribenda armadillos. And here we have a video that was recorded by Christine Prats, one of our collaborators, that shows possibly a breeding behavior of the Tribenda armadillo, in which several males compete for access to a female. So it's also interesting to have such information on behavior as well. Another objective of this project is to estimate population size and habitat use. So we are continuing sampling using camera traps, and we trained field assistants to conduct these samplings, the deployment of camera traps, setting camera traps, cleaning camera traps, retrieving videos. They do everything by themselves right now. And so far, we had more than 1,000 videos of the Tribenda armadillo, so a lot of work to do. And the last estimate of population density indicated that the density of the Tribenda armadillo there is 1.4 individuals per square kilometer, which is a density estimated which is really similar to the only available estimate that was made for a population de Cerrado Savanas of Brazil. That population was considered one of the largest population of the species. So we can conclude that we are dealing with a really large population of the Tribenda armadillo. In fact, this year we started assessing the health of Tribenda armadillos. So here we have Maíra and Gabriel working, 2 individuals of Tribenda armadillos. They are the veterinarians of the project. So they are collecting samples, so blood samples, fecal samples, swabs, to conduct a series of analyses. And so far we had 29 individuals captured. We identified some ticks and fleas in the individuals, and 5 intestinal parasites have been identified, and we have been carrying some mammograms as well to establish the reference values for the species. We have been also supporting the development of handcraft inspired by the Tribenda armadillo. So we are working with a group of artisans that is called Artesãs Filhos do Vento, a group of craft women that works with liquid straw that is harvested sustainably, and it's used to build these really cute items. So we supported the production of 60 units, but they have sold more than 100 units so far. So it's really good to see this the success of this initiative. We have been also planning scientific tourism in the area. So here we have a photo of Olivia, our tourismologist, that conducted a workshop with residents of Sumidouro to plan ecotourism there. So in this workshop, they could talk about the possibilities for ecotourism in the community. So we have, as the main idea for the ecotourism, our main idea is to have the tourists following the activities, the field activities of the project. So we will search for the Tribenda armadillos, capture them, measure them, collect biological samples, and the tourists can see us doing everything with the Tribenda armadillo, and then take pictures of us working and the Tribenda armadillo being released back in the same place it was captured. This work has to be done by a biologist, and we have a biologist working with us, which is who is the Cristina Prats. She will be responsible for that. So we have lots of partners working in our project with us, as you can see. And finally, we've been working with outreach activities as well. Here we have a photo of our stand in the handcraft fair in Sumidouro in 2022. These are our project volunteers who were in the stand talking about the project to people that were there. So making people aware of the project and of the importance of conserving this species. You can also find us on social media. We have our Instagram account, ECP Tatu-bola, and also the Instituto Tamanduá Instagram account, which is Instituto Tamanduá. So if you want, please follow us there. We have lots of things to show there about the project. So basically, in summary, all of these stories is to say that ecological and ethnobiological assessments can support the identification of research and conservation opportunities, and this identification can help to plan and conduct evidence-based conservation efforts. So that's my take-home message for you. And I have to thank all of the funders that we have since the beginning, and all of the partners that we have. They have been really amazing and made it all of this possible since the beginning. And I would like to thank all of you for being here as well, and this opportunity to be here to talking about the thing that I like the most in my profession, which is work with people and a species that I really love. So thank you very much for being here as well.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. My name is Kenny Coogan. I'm the Education Coordinator for the International Union of Conservation of Nature Species Survival Commission, Anteater Sloth and Armadillo, which are xenarthrans. And our group is very active online. We have a website, xenarthrans.org. We're also active on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can watch all of our past webinars. If you go to our website, xenarthrans.org, you will see that we have species profiles for about 40 species of xenarthrans. And we are the publisher of Xenarthra, the scientific journal about xenarthrans. And what has changed recently in the past couple of months is that if you have a scientific paper that you would like to publish with us, you can submit it at any time. And instead of waiting for December, instead of having big issues, we're going to be publishing whenever we get articles because it's digital. And we are part of the DOJ. So now we are open access and more people can learn about xenarthrans through our journal. If you go to our website, you will see information about habitats and threats and conservation status and diets. And of course, all of our resources are in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Maybe more than a year ago, we made 4 videos, one on the past, present, and future of xenarthrans, and then one on just sloths, anteaters, and armadillos. All of these, of course, are also available in all of the languages. These come with free resources like coloring sheets, spot the differences, word searches, lots of activities that we encourage you to download and utilize in your education programming. And more recently, we have updated our website to have a children's corner, a kids corner, where you can see those resources that I just mentioned, but also we have an interactive map of Central and South America. You click on a country, and then it lists all of the xenarthrans that are found in that country. And then you can dive deeper into those species where you can see kid-friendly text about their diet and most importantly, how you can help conserve that species. All right. And then you can also click on like the bigger taxa to learn about anteaters or armadillos or sloths, generally speaking. We have a couple of important dates, and today, day that we're filming this, we're only 2 days away from International Sloth Day. If you go to our YouTube channel, Instagram, or Facebook on Saturday, October 19th, we are going to be publishing a lot of snippets about sloths and how you can conserve them and what makes them special. If you go back to our channels, our social media pages on August 13th, you will see that we've published over 24 videos about why armadillos are important and how you can help them. International Armadillo Day is always August 13th. International Sloth Day changes. It is the 3rd Saturday of October, so the date changes. And then World Anteater Day is always the same day, November 19th. Coming up, we have a webinar and Anteater Day, but this one is about armadillos. So in November, we have an armadillo webinar coming up. And if you feel inspired to help conserve xenarthrans, you can go to our website and hit that support button. Or what's maybe more exciting is we have a dropship store where you can purchase xenarthran-themed clothing, merchandise, socks, mugs, t-shirts, tote bags. And during your presentation, I found all of our three-banded armadillo merch and I put it on this slide. So if you want, we have a hoodie with a three-banded armadillo, notebook, socks, lots of options, and all proceeds go to our education and conservation funding. And if you purchase something, it would be great if you send it to me or to Mariella so we can post about how you are supporting xenarthrans. And the two biggest supporters of our education initiative is FIA, the Foundation for International Aid to Animals, and Nurtured by Nature. They help create and fund all of our education resources and our monthly webinars. So thank you for that. All right, you have a couple of questions which I'm going to read. Somebody wanted to see a video. Oh no, I don't see it, but I think they wanted to see a jaguar eat an armadillo. Is that what they were asking?
Yeah, I've already sent the link for the video. Yeah.
All right. Mariella asks or says, I have seen images of huge solar farms in northeastern Brazil. Do you know the extension of these solar panel farms and if this could be a significant threat to the species?
So yeah, it's a really complicated matter because we have been solar plant. We have solar plants that are linked to the wind farms. So what's happening in our study area, for example, they have the wind farms on the top of the hills, and in the flatter areas, they are building wind solar plants. So these two types of plants can be at the same place, but I believe solar plants are more problematic for the three-banded armadillo because once the wind farms are established, I think the mammal community starts to recolonize the place. But with solar plants, most of the times these places are fenced, so it's harder to get through. And they usually use some pesticides to control for the herbs, etc. So yeah, I've been working with some companies, some solar plant companies, and I think the future will be basically wind farms and solar plants throughout the Northeast Brazil. It's really concerning, and I believe the three-banded armadillo could be impacted by that, definitely.
All right, Maria says, clap, clap. She liked your presentation. Mariella says, wonderful.
So Maida is one of our veterinarians. Thank you for being here.
Mariella says, wonderful work. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Rodrigo says, it looks like the armadillo population is doing well in the area. What about the other areas where it occurs? Congratulations for the important project.
Thank you very much. Rodrigo is also part of the project. So he helps a lot with occupancy analysis since the beginning. And this is a really good question because we have identified, if I'm not wrong, 31 populations of the armadillo in our recent study. And most of them, we don't know the population status. So we have to go there and survey and do some surveys. I would not believe that they are in a really good situation, but maybe some of them could be, especially in areas where we have larger patches of caatinga vegetation.
Okay. Oh, Mariella has a sunset today. Shay says, through your research, did you find any common medical issues within the three-banded species?
We have identified some intestinal parasites that are that have been found in both species, but we don't know the consequences of this relationship, this ecological relationship. So the clinical alterations, for example, we don't know it yet.
Mindy, the president of the Foundation for International Aid to Animals, says, this kind of project empowering local communities is essential to the future of conservation action. Thank you so much for the great work. And she also added that she highly recommends the Xenarthran socks. They are both adorable and extremely comfortable.
Nice.
And Liana says, great presentation. It's amazing to see how you have driven the power of species conservation in the community. Congratulations. Yeah, the title of your presentation was very exciting to incorporate the local communities, because of course, they're the people on the ground.
Yeah.
All right, Mariella, do you have any final thoughts? I think, and then you're getting lots of congratulations and excellent presentations. But well, if anyone else has any more questions, feel free to chat in, but I think we might be wrapping up.
Nice.
Mariella, anything else?
Sorry, it's too noisy around here, so I won't be able to speak. But thank you so much, Rodolfo, for your great talk. And we are working on the assessment, on the reassessment of the species. So we're in intense discussions with Rodolfo and some other specialists. So we do hope that we will have the global reassessment finished very soon, and it would be published next year.
Yes.
And this is all thanks to Rodolfo's fieldwork.
Thank you very much, Mariella.
All right, with that, thank you everyone who attended this live, and we hope to see you at a future webinar. And everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.